Alrighty. Type 4 and 5 factoring, that's what we're doing today. But before we get there, let's review type 1. Type 1. So I want to factor this. Type 1 factoring says find the greatest common factor. How does that work? Well, first I look at the numbers, right? So a 5 and 10, greatest common factor. Then I look at variables, x cubed and x. What's the same factor in both? X. Then I reverse distribute, which is basically dividing by that GCF, that greatest common factor. So what, 5x times what gets me up here? 2x squared. Right, 10 over 5 is 2, x cubed over x is x squared. 5x over 5x, 1. Now how do I verify? Multiply that back, distribute. You get 10x cubed plus 5x. Did I get where I started from? Yes. That's a good sign. The other thing you should do is look in here and say, can this be factored further? I don't see any other GCF in case I didn't take out the bigger one. It's not a difference in squares, and it doesn't look like type 3, which is all I know how to do yet. Okay, type 2, you're looking for a perfect square minus the perfect square. First thing you do, though, is look for GCF. Does this have a greatest common factor? 5? Well, it has to be a factor of here too, right? So 4 and 25, the only common factor they have is 1. And that doesn't help us. An x squared, there's no x here. So it's not. But is it a perfect square minus a perfect square? Yes. So that means I'm going to use that sum and difference pattern. You take the square root of 4x squared, which is, goes in both places. You take the perfect square of 25, and then a plus and a minus, or a minus plus, does not matter. That's type 2. Type 3 is when it looks like x squared plus a number, x plus a number. So it's a trinomial, it's got 3 terms, but the leading coefficient is a 1. So an example is one like this. So this is a type 3. You do look for greatest common factor. I don't see one. So we reverse FOIL. How do you get to x squared? X times x. This is the guess and check method. Then you say I need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 12, but they're going to add to what? 1 and a negative 1. There's that invisible negative 1 there. Oh, this is negative, so it has to be different signs to multiply up to a negative, which is logical subtraction. 2 factors of 12 that when you subtract them you get 1. Yeah? 4 and 3. So I know what the 2 numbers are. Now who's positive, who's negative? Ryan? How did you know that? Yeah, he did it in his head. Another way is if this is negative, the bigger number will be negative. If this is positive, the bigger number will be positive. But check it. Multiply up and add down. And if you're not good with your adding, put it in your calculator. 3 minus 4. Make sure you get that negative 1. And then these numbers just go right here. Check it by multiplying back x squared minus 4x plus 3x. That's a minus x. 3 times negative 4. Did I get what I started with? Yes. Okay. Good. So now we're going to be looking at, so our last 2 that we're going to be covering this year, type 4 and type 5. We're going to be using something called factoring by grouping. And type 5 looks a lot like type 3, except you know how this has to be a 1 for type 3? For type 5, it'll be something else. It'll be another number. Okay, so let's look at type 4. Okay, type 4. What I like about type 4 is it has 4 terms, so that helps me identify it as a type 4. And they need to be in descending degree order, meaning the exponents go from big to small. If they're not that way, you rewrite them to make it that way. These are all words, so the best way is to actually do it. But before we can, we have to know how to factor common polynomials. So let me say this was something else. Maybe I had x times 3 plus 3 times 3. What's the common factor in this? 3. And I factor it out, and then what's left? X plus 3, right? Now look at this thing. What's the same in both terms? X minus 1. That's what's in common. I'm going to factor it out. When I factor it out, what's left? And remember what factoring out does. It's like you divide by that GCF. So what's left when I reverse distribute? Oh, this becomes a 1. this becomes a 1. What's left? X plus 3. So this thing here that was common, instead of just being a number or an x or some variable, it's now another polynomial. You're factoring it out and you get this left. Let's do a couple more examples of that. So this is the middle of your page, so if you can see that. Look at this expression. What's the same? What do they have in common?
X minus 2.
I'm going to factor out x minus 2. Factoring it out, that means reverse distribute. Once these are factored out, what's left in the expression?
5x squared.
Yes. Because what you're doing when you're factoring out is you're dividing through by that thing. Right? Same thing over same thing. That's a 1. That's a 1. This is what's left. 5x squared plus 3. Who kind of sees that? Who has a question? Right? Who has a question? Yes?
If x minus 2 is distributed
Say it again?
if x minus 2 is distributed in
Yes, x minus 2 is right here. Now, if I want to get back to this, and let me just erase some of the mess I made here. Well, with this, with the eraser. So I can actually get back to that expression by distributing this. It would be 5x squared times x minus 2, right? And then I can distribute that one. Did I get back to where I started?
Yeah.
So I'm taking out an expression rather than just an x or a number. Does that make sense? Yeah, I mean, you gotta wrap your head around it. Let's try this one. 7y times this expression minus 3 times the same expression. What gets factored out here?
Y minus 5.
Now, after I factor these out, what's left for my distribution? Who, again, the people that know the answer shout it out. I'm worried more about people who are sitting here going, what? Right? So if you have a question, I can absolutely slow this down. And this, I really want you to see this. Yeah.
So
This is on our way to type 4. It's not type 4 yet.
uh-oh.
This is on our way to type 4.
Oh no.
Let's try it again. Look at C. And what's our common polynomial? Okay, now let's be careful. When we reverse distribute, whoops, x minus 8 times what got me here? Yeah, think about this. You are dividing by your greatest common factor. Same thing we did before. So what's really the thing in front here? There's a 1 in front. And if you multiply it back, that's how you get here. What? Yes?
Yeah.
No! Wait, no! Wait, we can do another one kind of like that. What if I had 3x times x plus 2 minus x plus 2? How would that be factored? Yeah, Gigi.
If we figure out x plus 2,
Yes, you would.
and then we have the previous x.
Got it.
Oh,
What do you think?
seriously?
Okay, we see it? All right, so type 4, factor by grouping. Here's how it works. Okay, so I'm on kind of that second row there after those examples we just did. Type 4 factoring, 4 has 4. You got 4 terms. See how these are descending degree order? You go in reverse order, big to small of the exponents. I call this one group, and then I call it factor. That's my shorthand for type 4, and I'll show you why. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to group the first 2, and you're going to group the second 2. That's group. Okay, so group them by putting them in parentheses. Factor, what does that mean? I'm going to factor just these first 2. This grouping, just factor that. Is there a greatest common factor in n cubed plus 6n squared? N squared. All right, let's factor that out. If you factor out an n squared times what gets me back up to n cubed? N squared times what gets me back up to 6n squared? Okay. And let's check it. N cubed plus 6n squared, right? Okay, plus, now I'm going to factor this piece. 5n plus 30. Is there a greatest common factor? 5. All right, factor out the 5. 5 times what gets me up to 5n? And 5 times what gets me up to 30?
6.
And look what Matt just did. I'm sorry, look what just happened. Woo! Wow! What's happening here? The greatest common polynomial. We just talked about that. Factor out the n plus 6. Sometimes just exploded. All right, now what's left when you factor out the n squared plus the n plus 6? What's left? Yes? N squared plus 5. Equal factor. What happened? What? Come on, that's a little bit cool.
Wait.
It is. What?
I see it except for the last thing. How'd you get n squared?
And here's, see that n squared plus 6? So it's my greatest common factor. I took that out, which means I'm dividing by it. These are my big ones. That's kind of what we did, like the previous set of examples. Right, do another one. So it's like, what?
I see it.
Let's try it again. Type 4, you have to figure out, is it type 4? Are there 4 terms?
Yes.
Put them in reverse order. So our first reverse exponent order, they are. So you group, factor. So group. Now be careful. See this minus here? Everybody's looking?
Yeah.
That's part of your grouping, but it's a plus. I'm not multiplying them. Put the plus back in and put this here. I'm still adding stuff. Now factor. Factor m cubed plus 7m squared. M squared. And then you factor that out of these two. What's left?
M plus 7.
Let me check it. M cubed plus 7m squared. Good. Now this one here is very important. If there's a negative up front, factor out the negative. Negative's going to come out. What else? 2 and 14, a 2. Now be careful in your factoring. You're taking a negative out, which is going to reverse your sign. So if you have to divide by it, divide by it. So what? Negative 2 times what gets me to negative 2m? And negative 2 times what gets me to negative 14?
Plus 7.
A plus 7. Right? Now look at, I divided by it. You might be to be able to see it. Negative 2, right here's an m. And then, oh look, I call this happy dance time, because look what happened. See this m plus 7? Factor out that polynomial, and then what is left once you factor this away?
M squared minus 2.
Yes.
Hold too slow.
What do you mean what?
Wait,
You said
I have a
what?
question. I have a question.
Okay, see how you factor out this guy? So it's like you're dividing through by it. What's m plus 7 over m plus 7? That's m squared. And what's this one? Right? M plus 7 over m plus 7 is always a 1. Right? Same thing over same thing. So I'm left with m squared minus 2. If you can multiply this back, you'll get m squared n plus 7 minus 2 times m plus 7. Right? Huh?
Question.
How'd I get what? We were here, right? So you factor out the m plus 7, and then you the m minus 2. You reverse the three.
How'd you get that first one?
How'd I get this one?
M plus 7.
Because I did factor, group, factor. I factored this. I've got an m squared, what's left? An m plus 7. I just factored this using greatest common factor. Okay? Then I factored this one using greatest common factor, and boom! Common polynomial factored it out. Yes, ma'am?
I was wondering if it's okay if we just look at the problem like that you solved, where it says m squared.
This one?
M plus 7.
Yeah, this bit?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And what just put the m plus 7 in parentheses and then put the outside.
Just do this? Yes. That's what I want you to do. But I want you to know why, because this could be next week and you forgot. Right? We have a break coming up. So I want you to know why. Let's try this one. Group. Now see how the minus goes inside the grouping. Put your plus back in. What question? Yes, sir?
If you are doing it and you forgot to do the division to take out the
Factoring out the m plus 7. Yeah.
Yeah, what if the numbers inside the parentheses are the same?
Then I can't do it. Then I can't factor it.
So you just keep it like
Well, then I can't factor it. But when it's factorable, it's like magic, isn't it? So we group. Now we factor. So let's factor this piece. greatest common factor of 9x cubed plus Dan,
Squared.
Dan, I'm gonna ask you, greatest common factor between 9x cubed and 9x squared? Well, look at the numbers.
Greatest one, X, 9X.
9x squared, right? When you factor that out, what's left? No, because this doesn't have three of them. This only has two factors. It's never gonna be bigger than that small, right? So then what's left here now? X. 9x squared times what? 1. Okay. Then I'm gonna factor the second piece. If there's a negative here, always take it out. I did not mean to make that look like a plus, so whoops. Okay. So then 7 also, right? So I'm dividing -7, so what's left? -7 times what is -7x? -7 times what is -7? Positive 1. And happy dance time.
Yay.
Right? Factor out the x plus 1. After you factor it out, what's left? 9x squared minus 7. Type 4 factoring. Done. You can multiply all this back, you should get this. Alright, who followed that?
I followed.
Awesome.
I did.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's see what we got here. I've got a couple of you tries. Let me see.
Can you do D on this?
How come you've already done it? No. Question.
How do you, like, when you have the 9x squared one and then 7x?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question?
How do you, like, know where you factor it out?
How do I know?
Yeah.
It's group. The first two and the second two. You always do, and as long as they're in descending degree order, that's what you do. And you will see this one. Again, this is a reverse distribution of sorts. It's harder to see it with 4. Now, when we're doing these, like, what's this? And we can do this one real fast, can't we? I hope. We get the same thing for A. And if we don't, I need a question being asked. For B, they don't look the same, do they?
No.
How can I make them the same? What's the difference between these two? Like if I were to rewrite this as -y plus 2, what's the difference here? The sign?
Yeah.
So why don't I take out this negative and make this a y plus 2? This one's kind of an advanced one. But the idea behind this one is you see these are just opposite signs. So if I pull a negative out of here, all these signs change, and now they look the same. Whoops. So that would be okay, so you take out the y minus 2, and you get 3y squared minus 5. Take it out so that the y minus 2 will be the same. Because taking out a negative reverses signs. That becomes negative, that becomes a positive. And that one looks like a harder one. Try these other ones. See, if you're having trouble with this last one, on your paper it says big hit for letter F. Rearrange terms in degree order. Write it as x cubed minus 3x squared plus 2x minus 6. All I did was I changed the order around using the commutative property of motion. Then when you do your group, factor, it will work. And x minus, oh yay, x minus 3. X squared plus 2. So, how to request for D. So I'm going to do a group, and I have to do a factor. So x cubed plus x squared, you know what's the greatest common factor? Alright, what's left? Plus an x plus 1. So if you think of this as being one of these x plus 1s, when I factor it out, what's going to be left? It's x squared plus 1. Make sense? E's a little bit tricky. Group. Let's factor. This has a common factor of y with y plus 1 left over. This one has a common factor of x with y plus 1 left over. Let's factor out the y plus 1. And that's going to be a y plus x. I can't help it. I have to put them in alphabetical order. If you put y plus x here, you're still right.
You just put it on the.
I do. I can't help it. I can't help myself. I just have to. What do you think? Questions? Can we do it a thumbs up, middle down? Just want to see where we are with type 4. Down. All
Wait, actually, I don't know.
middle. I'm okay. You're in the middle. That's understandable.
I like sugar pie
Okay.
now.
And the thing is, we need type 4 now. We need type 4 to do type 5. Yeah, okay, well, we need to go a little higher than that now. This will give you more practice. Type 5. Okay, shush. Type 5, you're in the big leagues. This is a trinomial. Doesn't this look like type 3? What's the difference between this and type 3? Yeah, what's the difference? The 1, yeah. Up front there could be a 2, a 10, a 12, a 100, right? It's not 1. So what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? That's this. So if I said factor this thing, the first thing you do is you look for a greatest common factor, hoping it's 2, that it factors away, and then it's an easy type 3. 2 is not a factor. So how do you do this? Well, you can use that same method we used for type 3. It's called the guess and check method. You basically reverse distribute. You say, shh. Alrighty. So reverse FOIL says, how do you get to 2x squared? One of them has to be 2x and one has to be x. I don't know how else to get to 2x squared. And then you say, well, I multiplied here and I got 3. But somehow when I went outside and when I went inside, I got to negative 7. So what are possible ways to multiply to 3? It could be 1 and 3, or you know what, it could be 3 and 1. But I have to figure out where they go. So I'm going to guess. Where did they go? Well, maybe the 1 was, well, maybe the 1 was here. Maybe the 3 was here. And because this is minus and this is plus, they have to both be minus. That's my guess. Now let me check it. Well, when I multiply, I get 2x squared. Minus 2x minus 3x is minus 5x. And negative 3 times negative 1 is plus 3. Did I get there? No. Bad guess. Well, the only other possibility in this situation was, what did I do? A 1 here, I switch them, right? Maybe that's what it was. So let me try it again now. That's my second guess. Let me check again. Well, I'm just reverse distributing. So minus 6x minus an x. What? What?
Negative 7.
Right here.
What? When you're factoring, like
I am reverse foiling. So I am looking for a way to get 2 binomials when I multiply and get back here. Guess and check says guess. And I'm guessing how to get to 2 and how to get to 3. The only way to get to 2 is to have a 2x and an x to get 2x squared, right? First. My last, luckily this is a prime number. And since this is negative, they're both negatives. Give me a positive. So a 1 and a 3, but which way do they go? Now when I tried the 3 here and the 1 here, when I multiplied back, it didn't work. So now I'm putting the 1 here and the 3 here, and I'm multiplying back. And it worked. So this is, okay, so guess and check. When it's type 5, which is the method we use for type 3, is hard. Because that was 2 possibilities. What if this was like, a 12, and this say was a 24? Look at all the different possibilities. That could be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, or reversed order. This could be 1 and 24, and 2 and 12, and 3 and 8, 4 and 6, or any other order. I could be guessing a really long time. Now I will say this, some people are awesome at this. They can guess it. They just see it. When I learned how to factor, they said, here, just figure it out. And I was like, like I could do these, but I could not do ones where there were all kinds of different ways to multiply to get here. So we're going to use a different method that you don't have to guess. No more guessing.
Yes.
Yay. Now this method actually does work for type 3 as well, but guess and check is kind of easy for type 3. So type 5, words, okay? Before we read the words, try it. Okay, so here's the same thing, but I'm going to use the other method. Always, always, always look for a greatest common factor and hope there is one. Is there one? No, doesn't help me. What do I mean by multiply a and c? What? I'm talking about this. Ax squared plus bx plus c. When I say multiply a and c, I'm saying multiply this times this. So in this example, what am I multiplying? That's the top of my big X here. I want find factors of AC that add or subtract to b. Well, what's b? Okay. The same thing kind of what we did before. I need 2 numbers, multiply to 6, but add to negative 7.
Wait, how do you multiply to 6?
Negative. Well, there's 2 ways to get to 6. 1 times 6 or 2 times 3, right?
So how do you,
2 times 3. Okay? You got to listen to the method. You hear the method? multiply A and C, which is these A and C, multiply them, that's where the 6 comes from. Two numbers, multiply to 6 and add to -7. What are they? Yep.
6 and 1.
They're both going to be negative because, whoops, 6 and 1, because they're going to add to that, okay? Now here's what you do with it. Watch carefully. Watch carefully. Who's watching carefully?
Watch carefully.
Okay. You're going to split up the middle term because we are unfoiling. I want the outside and the inside, okay? So watch what happens. 2x squared stays. What am I splitting it up to? These two things. Minus 6x minus that 1x. And then plus the 3. Stays the same, stays the same. What is minus 6x minus x?
Minus
-7, right? I am reverse foiling. I'm looking for the outside and the inside. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Type 4. Group. His head exploded again. Group. Factor. This is negative, but I need to put my plus back in. Group. Factor. Her head's exploding. Just put it back in. Put the brains back in. We're okay. Now watch what happens. Shush. Factor. 2x squared minus 6x. Common factor. 2x. Right? What's left? X minus 3. Now, I don't want negatives. Whenever there's a negative up front, take it out. Now, what happens to the inside when you factor out a negative?
It comes out outside.
Right? Divide these by negatives. Their signs will change. And look what happened! Wow! Okay? Factor out the x minus 3. Reverse distribute. What's left? Thank you. What did we get before? Same thing. See? No guessing though. No guessing. Check it though. Multiply, because you might make a mistake here.
That was for one problem.
So 2x squared minus x minus 6x. I'm foiling back. Plus 3. Combine the oi's. 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. Did I get there? Yes. And that's how you do it using this method. Guess and check is faster if you can guess good. If you're not a good guesser, use this. All right, let's try it again. Oh, I can't. My head's exploding. All right, again, we are on the back here. So on the back here, kind of on the second half of the page there, factoring 15x squared plus 13x plus 2. On the left side, I have the method. On the right side, I'm doing the example. So just watch up here. First, is there a greatest common factor? And you say, please, let 15. No. What's the process? Multiply A times C. What's A times C?
30.
And I need two numbers. Multiply to 30, but add to 13.
10 30.
Oh, let's see. Is that as fast? 10 times 3 is 30. What happens now? You're splitting up that middle term. So the 15x squared stays. This becomes plus 10x plus 3x, and then the plus 2c. Yes, question?
Does it matter which side of the connection?
No, you can go either way. You can say 3x, 3x, it does not matter. Alrighty, 4 things.
Group it.
Okay, group. Factor. So 15x squared plus 10x, common factors.
So we have 5.
5, right, for the numbers, and x for that guy. So you're dividing through by 5x, what's left?
We have
3x plus 2. This does not have any common factor, does it? I guess we can't do anything with it. Well, we don't want to. Look what happened. What do I factor out now? After I factor it out, what's left? 5x plus 1, right? Because there's really a 1 here. Check it. So 3x times 5x, that's the first. Outside, plus 3x, plus 10x, right? We found these numbers here. But we're just making sure we didn't make a mistake. Combine the OI, 15x squared plus 13x plus 2. Did I do this right? Yes. Done. Okay, who followed that?
I followed the
Yeah, right, we're gonna have to practice, aren't we? We are. I'm gonna do a couple more examples for you, okay? A couple more examples. Is there a greatest common factor? No. All right, multiply A times C, and it has to add up to B. Oh, gonna be a plus and a minus, isn't it? Two numbers that multiply to negative 60, but actually negative 11.
Negative 15 is 4.
15 and 4. Oh, who's positive, who's negative, Sam?
15 is negative 24.
Oh, this guy's good, okay? So first of all, here's what he did. In his head, he went through 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15. He didn't have to go to 5 and 12 because the 4 and the 15 worked. And then he said, this is negative, the bigger number will be negative. And then he checked it. He multiplied up, he added down. What do you do with that? That's how we split up the middle term. First term's the same, plus 4x minus 15x minus 10. I just want to show it'll work either way, so I'm going to turn them around. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Either way is fine. So I don't care. These can go either way. But now you group. And now we're going to factor. 6x squared minus 15x. Oh, greatest common factor. 6 and 15.
3.
X squared and x.
3x.
Alrighty, so divide 3x times what is 6x squared? And 3x times what is negative 15x? Minus 5, right? So that is a 2x minus 5. Common factor here, 2. Factor out 2. Oh, yay! Common factor, common polynomial of 2x plus 5. And then what's left when I factor that out? Yay. I hope you're writing this down. Hope you are. All right, let's do this one. Is there a greatest common factor?
No.
Multiply a times c. Has to add up to 14. Okay, two numbers that do that. This is negative. So who's going to be positive?
15.
And again, if this takes a while, go ahead. It's 115, 3 and 5. You have to kind of try it. But now I got these two things. You split up that middle term. That's the outside inside. Minus x. What's the question?
Where'd you get 15?
This one?
No, the
3
negative.
times, remember, it's a times c.
No.
This times this.
Okay.
That's where that came from. Group, factor. So I'm going to factor this one. No, it's an x, right? 3x minus 1 plus, looks like a 5. It's my common factor here. Oh, look. Common factor of 3x minus 1. X plus 5 is left over. Check it. That's 3x squared. 15x minus an x is a positive 14x. Minus 1 times 5 minus 5. That was me checking. I was checking. Who's doing it? Who's actually like doing this? 2 people. 3 people.
I have a
I
question.
did. 4.
Oh.
Yes. Okay? Yes.
How did that on the last, like on the 5 times 3x minus 1? How did that?
Can I factor this out? And then x plus 5 was left. All right, looking at part C, stop talking over there. Is there a greatest common factor? Yes. So there is a 2. Take it out. It makes this easier. 2x squared plus 13x minus 7 plus taking it out. Your result here will be prime. So take that out first. Okay, so the 2 is just going to hang out this whole time. So now I do this one. A times c, negative, not a type 3 unfortunately, right, because that's not a 1. 2 times negative 7 gives me that. Two numbers that add up to negative 14 and multiply to negative 14, that's a 13, yes? What? Still on this one? Yes.
So, what multiplies to 15 that adds to 14? I got 15 and negative 14.
That's what I got.
And then you do 15x squared plus 15x minus 1x.
3x squared. Okay, this does not change. Your x, these two things don't change. See what's up here? The only thing that changes is your middle term. So when we're doing this one, we got two numbers that have to multiply to negative 14 and add to 13. What is it?
14 and
Well, let's test it. Multiply up, add down. So watch Claire. So this 2 is just hanging out and saying factor in. The only thing that's changing is this. The 2x squared comes down. Instead of 13x, I'm going to write plus 14x minus x. And then the minus 7 comes down. The only thing that changes, and check that they add up, right? 14x minus 2x is a 13x. Outside, inside. All right, group, factor, factor. So I'm gonna group. So you group that negative, so I'm putting the plus back in, that's important. So I put that plus back in. This 2 is just this, guys. All right, 2x squared plus 14x, factor that. 2x times x plus 7. Now, when there's a negative up front, take it out. Oh, no, we got a lot of parentheses, okay. When you take a negative out of negative x minus 7, what's left? X plus 7. Anybody happy now? Because I am. So again, this 2 is just hanging out, but I can factor out that x plus 7, can't I?
Yes.
And then what's left? 2x
2x
minus 1. Oh. Wow. Wow. You all right there, Ben? He's like, this is how you do it. This is it. So, return, right? So try this. The rules are right here. They're on your paper. Don't forget to multiply the A and C. That splits up that middle term. If you look at your flow chart, who's got their flow chart handy?
I do.
Turn it over. Type 5. Type 5. There are all kinds of little tricks for type 5. I want you to learn the real way, which is this way. Okay? There are other ways. You may find that when you move into algebra 2. Well, why don't you make a box? And why don't you slide and divide? Blah, blah, blah. There's all different ways. If you learn it the real way, you don't need a trick. You're not going to forget it because it's reverse FOIL. So give these a try. Give these a try. Now, we probably are not going to have time to do all of these in class. Are there any of them that you want me to do? The ones I want to draw your attention to here, look at D. If there is a negative in front, always factor that like it's the greatest common factor. So you take out that negative, and then you have 4x squared minus 12x minus 7. It is much easier working with a positive number here. So take that out first, and then work with what's left. It is much, much easier working with a positive value of your A. So remember that. And this will become easier. You should get this. That's why I have negatives sticking out here. What else? Always look for a greatest common factor that will make your life easier. Sometimes it turns out to be a type 3. So don't forget to do that. Any other questions on this? Because I do want to give you your checkpoint, but I want to make sure you've done at least a couple of them. If you don't finish it, yes. So are there any ones you want me to do? What? Huh? Big?
Is it check 1 on type 4?
4 times, no. So 20 to negative 9. Where did 20 come from, Matthew? 4 times 5. Two numbers multiply to 20, but add to negative 9. 5 and 4. So I'm going to split this guy up. 4x squared minus 5x minus 4x plus 5. Group. Put the plus back in here. Factor. Looks like a 4x. So I get an x minus 5. I'm sorry, you said x. So 4x minus 5. I'm going to take out the minus. I'm in trouble here. Take out the minus. That also becomes 4x minus 5. Common factor of 4x minus